really good to be on your campus. But before I start, I want to ask a question. How many people are actually students? How many people are students? Okay. How many graduates? Okay, great. So, today I am going to talk about becoming globally competitive. Becoming globally competitive. As they've introduced, my name is JayTee Ojo, and I am co-president of the JayTee Ojo Foundation. At the end, I'll introduce some of my friends and some of my associates that come from the foundation. Let's talk about becoming globally competitive. I sat there and I've listened to two speakers, and they've talked a lot about how things are in Nigeria today. And a lot has said about how we should, interact with the current state of Nigeria, right? Actually, I think it was 5 years or so ago, the Nigerian Immigration Service went for a recruitment drive. They put out 5,000 jobs. Do you guys remember that? Yeah? For 5,000 jobs, do you remember how many people applied? We were told it was about 500,000 people. And then on the day that they were doing they had a stadium and they had people come to validate and do all of that. Do you know how many people showed up in that place for 5,000 jobs? More than 60,000 people. More than 60,000 young people trying to get 5,000 jobs. Right? That's how many? One job. 12 people in the same venue looking for one job. Right? Now, it sounds as though we started about Nigeria again. This is the thing in Nigeria. We know the statistics of Nigeria. We know that every single year there is more than 1.5 million students that come into the workforce. We know that there is a backlog of, say, 6 million students or so graduates who don't have jobs. We know all of that. But my question to you today is, those of you who are graduates and those of you who are soon going to graduate, do you want to join that line? Do you? When you finish and when you graduate, do you want to start looking for a job? No, come on, talk to me guys. You want to start looking for a job? Do you want to be number 13 of the 12 that's already queuing for that one job? Okay, so I'm really happy that you said no, because today I want to tell you one of the ways that you can opt out of that system and look at an alternative. Okay? There are no jobs in Nigeria. Okay, there's no job in Ekiti for you. I say that because when you graduate, if you think about the dynamics of going to university or college of education or wherever else you go to graduate, you don't graduate as an expert in your field. You graduate as someone who is knowledgeable and is a good trainee. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're someone who can do research. You're someone who somebody else can pick up and train to do something. Does that make sense? Okay, that's why the traditional job route is the way it is, because someone puts out a job and they're going to bring you into the job, and now they're going to train you and you go up the ranks because you're not yet an expert. Is it possible that you could become an expert by the time you graduate, and then you don't have to find a job, the job comes to find you. Okay? Now, because of the dynamics of how universities work and what I just explained, the fact that graduates swim in a large pool with other graduates with so few jobs, it's not a Nigerian problem. It's not an Ekiti problem. It's not an African problem. It's a problem all around the world. In March of this year, there was a report by the Financial Times, and they looked at the UK and Europe, and they said exactly the same thing. Graduates are always fighting each other for jobs that are not enough to go around all of them. Okay? And that's why I have traveled a very, very long way today to say to you, don't join that queue. Okay? And the way to not join that queue is by the time you become a graduate, you should already be an expert. An expert in a field that requires your skills. Let me bring this home. I was talking a moment ago about what happened in Abuja where 60,000 people applied for 5,000 jobs. You all know the story, it's quite unfortunate, there were some tragic things that happened. But did you know that at the same time that was going on, there was a report that there is a shortfall. There is a shortfall, skill shortfall for software engineers. Guess how many? There is more than 1.2 million roles that are not filled for software engineers. 1.2 million jobs. Jobs that already have funding. Jobs that have already been advertised. Jobs that somebody desperately needs somebody else to do for them, but there's no one to do it. Right? So here are 60,000 of my friends and your friends queuing for 5,000 jobs, right? And there's 1.2 million jobs that's waiting to be picked up. The only difference is that for you to pick any of those 1.2 million jobs, you have to front load your training. Okay? A normal graduate goes to school, finishes in university, gets a graduate job, and for many years you're trained. Right? Actually, that's not the way of the world anymore, because if you go down that route, you're behind many other people. What we're going to do now is, right now, where you are now, with what you have now, you will acquire a digital skill that allows you to be an expert in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, when you come out. And then when you're a graduate, you don't have to find a job. The job comes finding you. Who likes that? I have come to tell you that there is another way. Right. I found that other way at the end of a rather difficult journey. I'll spare you the detail today. But I want you to find that way much easier. Right? Okay, so you're going to ask me, this all sounds good, I can become an expert, and jobs can be finding me, looking for me everywhere. Where do I start? What sort of jobs should I be looking at? What should I be training as? Right? So I'm going to tell you sort of 3 broad areas that you should be looking at. And I'm going to say a little bit more about what you should do to go deeper. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what we do at JayTee Ojo Foundation. Okay, so I talked about software engineering. A few years ago, 1.2 million jobs. Right now, the gap is even wider. The gap is even wider. At the moment, I know of companies around the world that have a huge backlog of work, and they're looking for experts to do it, and they can't find any. I'll give you just a very, very quick example. I did a project for a company, and I think you already figured I'm a software engineer by trade. I think you should know that by now. So I did a job for a company, and we needed a particular expertise, right? We needed someone who could do a very, very niche job. And we looked everywhere we couldn't find. After 6 months trying to recruit and we couldn't find, do you know where we found someone who could do it? In India. In India. One of the agencies went to India, recruited somebody, brought them over to the place where we had to do that work, put them on the plane. This person had never flown out before of India. They went to go and pick them. Why? Because they could do something that somebody needed to be done and they had funding for, right? So, think about software engineering, think about the future is taking. So, anything that supports software engineering, think about data management, data engineering, cloud engineering, things around that, okay? When you leave here today, please research that and see how you can get into that. Something else that is a really, really good sort of niche or industry to look at, to become an expert in, and I can assure you that the job will find you, is design, digital design. Think about graphic design, think about web design, think about architectural designs, think about pretty much, any kind of design. Do you know why? Because every project has to be planned, and design is part of planning, right? So before you can't just conceive something and make it. You need to plan it and design what it would look like so that you know when you've got to the end, right? Okay. The other thing that I think that you should really think about, I've talked about software engineering and things around that, I've talked about design. I think you should think about marketing. Marketing is a really big industry. It's much bigger than you think. As a matter of fact, most of the artificial intelligence deployed in this world is deployed for marketing. There is more AI in marketing and you can imagine that happens anywhere else, right? Some of the science that goes into marketing is bigger than, what we always say, something is not rocket science. It's bigger than rocket science because marketing is how big companies make money. When does Google make money? Marketing, clicks. How does YouTube make money? It's part of Google, but you know what I mean? How does Facebook make money? Facebook doesn't charge you to sign up. How do they make money? Marketing, right? Those jobs are there. You just need to learn it and position yourself, okay? So, quickly, I'm going to go into what we do in our foundation. Our foundation exists for two reasons, as you've already been told. One of it is to help you, the young person, to become globally committed. And the way we do it is what I just explained. One of our projects, and I'd like you guys to really appreciate my friends that have come all the way from Ikore-Ekiti, from Babatokwe Memorial High School. Please appreciate them. Great. So the projects that we're doing in Babatokwe Memorial, please sit down, is one of our local school ICT clubs, right? And this is not just in secondary school, we'll do some work in primary schools as well, because we want to introduce young people to programming as early as possible. They are luckier than you are, because you're already in university, you have 2 years to do what I just said now, and get yourself ready to be headhunted. They've got so many years of secondary school. I mean, the work that some of these kids do is already employable. And I mean that because I see their projects. It's already employable. And it should tell you that some of these young people can do that. You guys can do it even better. Okay, so that's one of the things that we do. The other thing that we do is work with one of our training partners just down the road, Glimpse Nigeria. We sponsor open ICT trainings, open digital trainings. We pay for the trainings, they deliver the training. And it's an open training because anybody can come from off the street to do the training. And we really encourage ladies, especially girls in tech. There are not enough girls in tech. Let me just debate for a minute to say what is wrong with that. Yes, if there are not enough girls in tech, there are not enough girls making buck in tech, which is not very good, right? But there's something else. If it is only boys that are thinking about the solutions for the future, there is going to be a bias against ladies. We boys are going to come up with solutions that doesn't work for girls. And the girls will say, look, you see, this doesn't work for me. You know, this is so biased, but you need to be in it to make it happen. So girls, please get into tech, okay? And the last thing, of course, we have to put our money where our mouth is. In 2019, I came back to Ekiti. My route, I went to Christ School, grew up very, very close to here, and we started Alluvium. Alluvium is a software engineering lab with roots here in Ekiti, that started here in Ekiti. And in less than 2 years, we're one of the fastest growing startups in Nigeria. We're doing thank you, yeah, you can clap, it's absolutely fantastic. But I think my point is, there's an opportunity for you to not look for a job to find you. And the way to take that opportunity is for you to become an expert already. So take your time now. If right now you use your phone to check YouTube, to check how to fix my wig, use the phone on YouTube to check how to write software, okay? You don't need to find any new thing, go anywhere new. Use what you have where you are right now. In my notes to the young person, okay? I'll pretend this is it and I'll read it to you. Dear young person, this is really important for your future. Get yourself a digital skill that is in demand. Do it with what you have right now. Do it from where you are right now. Thank you so very much for having me.